to Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati.
Play to win the game.
It was all that Dan Marino's fault. Everyone knows that.
When it's too tough for them, it's just right for us.
Covering the New England Patriots, Miami Dolphins, New York Jets, and the Buffalo Bills.
180!
Kyle Smith.
What kind of defense is it? Because they're disguising their coverages late. Julio Jones, Chris Hogan, identical stat line.
Gary Smith.
Percy Harvin threw a dumbbell and I found the weight room. Kyle, please, my butt.
AFC East Bros Podcast.
Yes, we're back. AFC East Bros, Kyle, Gary, talking AFC East, talking post-draft, talking fifth-year option decisions, mostly post-draft. I mean, we've been draft-centric for a little while now, and the draft is here and it is gone. And I think most people would say that the AFC East did pretty well for themselves, given the fact the amount of draft capital that they had. I think most fan bases are pretty pleased with their drafts. However, I'm here to say that I'm not very pleased with the New York Jets draft. I don't know if you feel the same way about the Buffalo Bills draft, Gary. How do you feel?
I was in love with the first three picks, Kyle, and I actually hate the last three after that. And I know people are saying the Nathan Peterman is a good pick for the round they got him in, but I am not a fan of Nathan Peterman, nor am I a fan of the two linebackers they got, because Kyle, maybe it's my mindset. You know, last year I gave the Jets fans and you in particular a lot of flack for picking that undersized shrimp of a linebacker, Darron Lee or Darren Lee. We don't even know what his name is, Kyle. Anyway. That's the trend in the NFL, is these small linebackers, these hybrid type of linebackers, and I'm just not used to it. I'm still give me the Brandon Spikes, the Ray Lewis's, the 254-pound Brian Urlachers. That give me those linebackers. Those are the guys I want to see. I don't want to see these Shaq Thompson, these Mark Barron, these Darren Lee linebackers.
But don't those types fit well in your system, though?
They do, but Kyle, I'm not used to it. I am not used to this day's NFL linebackers. I think of a guy like a Richie Incognito that pulls around and sees a Shaq Thompson in the hole at 225 pounds, and I'm thinking to myself, man, that guy's going to get blasted. I am not used to it. So maybe it's me who needs to change. Maybe I'm the one who's behind the times. I don't know.
I mean, I think that the NFL is kind of moving forward with smaller guys. I mean, shoot, Gary, remember back in the day when the Steelers had all those guys, linebackers wearing 90s, and they used to have guys in like the 270s, 260s was common. I mean, you could get away with it back in the day now, but the game is faster and faster now. You know, quarterbacks are, throwing a lot more screen passes to quick, little shifty receivers. You need linebackers that can get sideline to sideline now. So you can't have the traditional 270, 60-pound linebacker anymore.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that there's got to be a balance, because you know what, Kyle? I still don't think that those linebackers are meant for the running game. I still don't think that they I think you love them. I mentioned to Kyle Fahey, you love it when you get, Darren Sproles line up in the slot and you have an athletic linebacker cover him rather than and I keep using Brandon Spikes as an example. But you like the fact when you get one of those guys out there on like a Sproles or someone like that, or a Danny Woodhead, someone like that. But you hate the fact that when there's a power run game, that Oakland Raiders offensive line that's coming at you full steam ahead, you don't want a Kiko Alonso out there. You don't want a Darren Lee out there. You don't want a – I'll use the Bills draft. You don't want a Tanner Vallejo or Matt Molino out there. You don't want those guys out there.
And we said this many times before. I mean, I actually was kind of criticizing Darren Lee a lot lately because He just acts like a douche on social media, to be honest. I mean, I don't know if you see his – it's funny because he said something about the whole Garyon Conley thing and something like he's like, girls are stupid nowadays, or, you know, like who sits around and watches a foursome, some dumb crap like that. And even if that's what you're thinking, that's what you believe, don't tweet it on social media. And this guy's – the Jets fans know this. I don't know if the Dolphins, Patriots, and Bills fans know this. He's freaking weird on social media. He goes and he deletes all his tweets. Like, the guy's got like hundreds of thousands of followers, but he deletes his tweets. I guess he doesn't want people fact-checking or whatever. So I went and I replied to that tweet with a GIF image of Chris Hogan knocking him on his butt. And after I said, Chris Hogan, please do this to him again. You know, like, shut him up. And after that, Darren Lee deleted that tweet. But if you go and look at him, and I've said this many times before, the red flag to me about him, and I was okay with the pick, and I still don't dislike him as a player. I'm still holding out hope, but that hope is fading away. And one of the big red flags was the Michigan State game. And they ran a really power-heavy run team. And you have to ask yourselves, you know, how many teams in the NFL currently still do that? But there was a lot of pulling going on in that game, a lot of down and dirty linemen blocking him straight up. And when he was taking blocks head-on, it was not a pretty sight. He was getting mauled in the run game. Michigan State 2015 season, Darren Lee.
Yeah.
Go watch it on draftbreakdown.com.
Yeah, I mean, and to your point, you know, it's cut from the same mold. You got two linebackers the Bills drafted, and you know, you liked. I'll go to Matt Molino first. You liked when he was out in space. You liked when he was coming off the edge, you know, because he's a quick guy. And Darren Lee flashed that same ability, Kyle. People thought that he could play the rush linebacker because the Jets were needing that so much. He was good in the blitz because he was so fast. You liked those two aspects about those guys, but Kyle, I saw Matt Molino, that Virginia Tech game. Anytime a big guard got his mitts on Matt Molino, the dude was going flying or he was crashing in the dirt. And I tell you, these linebackers are not built for the run game. They're not built for the straight up run game. On an angle, you got to get these guys out in space. And Kyle, the Bills are used to this. I mean, Kiko Alonso, when we took him in 2013, same thing happened with him. He got completely trounced in the running game. And he still is as a Dolphin.
We can't have a show without mentioning Kiko and somewhat bashing him.
I know.
Even though you have 3 jerseys of him.
You got to keep bringing that up, huh?
It's just one of those things, man.
You want to hear something crazy? Not only do I have 3 jerseys of Kiko Alonso's, none which I purchased. Can I state that for the record? All my girlfriend,
You certainly didn't have a problem wearing them.
I never wore any of the bootleg ones. I wore the official one, but anywho, the bootleg one, she messed up twice. Let the record show she messed up twice. She bought two knockoffs, and finally she bought an official one. And yes, I did wear the official one quite a few times. But Kyle, let the record also show. Not only do I have 3 Kiko Alonso jerseys, I actually purchased a 4th one when he joined the Philadelphia Eagles for our caller of our show, Amit Das. I purchased one for his birthday. So technically, there's 4 Kiko Alonso jerseys and
I take it it's not because you wanted to make Amit happy. It's because you wanted to say, "Hey, thanks for Shady, man. Thanks for giving us Kiko for Shady."
Of course, and he actually got a good laugh out of it. So,
and by the way, should we play the Shady McCoy clip? Because man, he went at Kiko again.
I see. I didn't. Kyle, I was in Arizona, so I've been out of the loop for a while. I didn't. Go ahead.
All right, I got to pull it up, but for those that haven't
I didn't hear about this.
Oh, I mean, this is classic. I kind of don't want to spoil it. In the meantime, while I pull that up, tell me more so why you don't like some of those other picks. You said you didn't like the last 3 picks of the Bills draft.
Yeah, I mean, Tanner Vallejo, copy and paste what I said about Matt Molino. They're very similar players. And Nathan Peterman, Kyle, I don't know what the plan is for Nathan Peterman. I've heard the saying you got to draft a quarterback every year, and and I somewhat agree with that. I just don't know if Nathan Peterman, Kyle, to me, is one of, besides Trubisky, he's probably the most pro-ready, if not even more than Trubisky, he's almost a finished product. That's how I feel about Peterman. So what do you want? Does this guy, are you basically saying, all right, when I draft a quarterback in the later rounds, Kyle, I want a project. I want that Cardale Jones, a guy you could develop. I want that maybe even so Tom Brady, a guy that they could maybe later on step in and be a future starter. Nathan Peterman, to me, it's almost like you're picking a guy who you're hoping is your backup for the next 10 years. I don't want to take that in the 5th round. I'd rather take a need. I don't want a guy that's going to be – I feel like you could find a backup quarterback every year in free agency.
But isn't a backup quarterback really important? I mean, we don't think those Dolphins fans that were clamoring for Matt Moore saying that he's better than Tannehill. We want more. We want more. We heard those chants after the Tennessee game. But, I mean, Matt Moore, he's a good enough backup that he was able to keep the ship afloat. He wasn't Ryan Fitzpatrick horrific. He wasn't.
And you're setting me up for my point, Kyle, because wasn't Matt Moore available in free agency twice and the Dolphins waited last minute to sign him? That's what I'm trying to say, that those guys are out there on the street every day. The TJ Yates, who the Bills picked up 2 weeks ago, they're out there. And that's what Nathan Peterman's going to be. TJ Yates, Matt Moore, you just named it right there. The guys that come in there and not get you killed, but, manage the game for you.
It is a fair point. It is a fair point for sure. I wouldn't have liked the Peterman pick myself either. And, by the way, Ben Albright, who came on this show and he was talking about rumors that we were hearing, he said, listen, I'm hearing Nate Peterman to the Bills. And he was spot on about that. Dude, that guy's on fire, man. He's got, 36.1 thousand followers? He was tipping picks. And I know you weren't really allowed to watch the draft live because of the business stuff that you were doing. But the whole first couple rounds, he was tipping picks all night and getting them right.
He's a savant when it comes to that stuff, Kyle.
Yeah. And but by the way, Peterman, I'm not going to act like I even studied the guy. I studied the top 4 guys in good detail. Peterman, I didn't. But somebody who does study quarterbacks in depth is Derek Klassen on Twitter at QB Class with a K. And he said, everybody likes Peterman because he's pro-ready, played in the pro-style system. And he was making the argument that the system is actually more baby than you might think. They actually watered it down super a lot from it. It's really not a big pro-style system. So, I mean, I guess maybe in the summer I'll delve into some of these draft prospects a little bit more and watch a lot more tape on them to kind of see if that makes some sense. But, if we're going to go based on what he said with that kind of tempers your expectations about the Peterman pick even more. And I'll be honest, that's a guy, I didn't want him in the 7th round. And we all know how dire the Jets quarterback situation is. That's not a guy I wanted. We were hearing round 2 hype for him. There was people saying possibility he can go in round 2. You might have even heard a couple crazy saying maybe late round 1. But I definitely see your point at why you wouldn't want to take him. Obviously, quarterback's not even a need for the Bills. And you guys drafted a quarterback in the 4th round last year with much higher upside.
Well, that's the thing. I'd rather take the quarterback. I know Bills fans and a lot of Bills media people did not want Chad Kelly, but I felt like that guy had a lot more upside. I know given the all-field antics and the injury history, you probably don't touch a guy like that because of that reason alone. But the Broncos felt there was enough juice worth for the squeeze out of him, and that's someone I'd rather have taken. I understand. Maybe the pressure would be too much, a Kelly name in a Bills uniform, given the pedigree. Maybe that's not the smartest move for the Bills, but there's more upside with the Chad Kelly. Nathan Peterman, he is what he is at this point.
All right, cool. All right, so let me play that clip that I was talking to you about. Shady McCoy goes at Kiko Alonso again. This is on First Take, one of our favorite shows. Not really. Oh, damn, this is the whole damn thing. I don't want to see that.
Get half off exactly.
You got the damn ad in the beginning.
What you want with Pizza Hut's?
In the meantime, while that comes up, I'm going to tell you a little bit why I didn't like the Jets draft, why I get that to come.
Yeah, let's hear about this, Kyle, because I tell you what, I talked to our boy Fahey. He was absolutely getting rock hard about this damn draft that the Jets had.
And you know why? Is because the Jets drafted his boy, Marcus May, safety out of Florida.
By the way,
round.
I told, let the record show, he's not gonna. He was like, "Oh, you're saying this because he's a Jet." Kyle, some of our older episodes, I had a 4th round pick grade on him. He said I would love the kid in the 4th round.
And here's your 2nd round wide receiver, just shaking Marcus May out of his shoes. See that one?
He's a tight hip safety.
I hope that's not a sign of things to come. And everybody's saying, hey, listen, he can play single high. I mean, I'm not going to act like I watched Marcus May. But when we had Connor Rogers on, he was pretty high on May. And, to me, when people say, oh, like he's a guy, he's going to work hard. Like I was talking to a Steelers fan a couple hours ago at the gym. And he kept kind of praising the TJ Watt pick. He's like, oh, he's going to work hard. He's going to work hard. Like if that's your first thing that you got to say to praise a guy, that's scary. Oh, he's going to work hard. I'm sorry, I could work hard. I can go on a freaking football team and work hard. Doesn't mean I'm going to do anything. Doesn't mean I'm going to be able to move an offensive lineman or get by an offensive lineman for pressure. So, I mean, I feel like that's a lot of this praise where Marcus May is coming from with Marcus May. And you think about it, there was a clear effort by Mike Maccagnan in this draft to draft, quote, high character guys. And you can see that Jamal Adams is that type of guy. The way he watches film, he paces back and forth. Andy Benoit of the MMQB interviewed him, and they were watching film. They were only supposed to do that for an hour or whatever. Jamal Adams took him upstairs once the offensive lineman had to use the room, and basically said, "Hey, listen, let's watch more film." To me, that's cool. And the Jets need a culture of good leader guys. But if you're elevating guys on your draft board just because they're supposedly good leaders and they're gonna work hard, and you're really overlooking talent as a result, to me that's scary. And I mean, I'm hearing people are saying Marcus May, he's got the versatility to play in the box, but he can also play some single high. Based off the little I've seen, I don't know that to be the case. And shoot, if this clip is anything of a sign of things to come, that's pretty scary. And Ian Wharton, who I really respect his work on defensive backs, he's not high on Marcus May at all.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I like the kid, Kyle, but I liked him in the 4th round. If the Bills were to get him a late 3rd, early 5th, I would have been ecstatic, or traded up into the 4th round. I just thought this was too early. Like I said, I think he's tight-hipped. I think he's a better box safety than he is a single high, or even playing too deep. I like him in the box better. But like I said, I don't hate the kid. I just don't think he's second pick worthy. That's how I feel about him. I would have loved to have him on my team, but just not at that point. And I don't think he's a day one starter.
He's going to be because they just cut Gilchrist. And
what's the deal with Pryor? I mean,
rumors are they're trying to trade him. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. Thank God. That's a good move by him. And Pryor sucks, man. He sucks.
What about
He's another dumb tweeter?
What about my boy Rontez Miles? They're not going to give him any burn?
Hey, I love Rontez Miles on special teams, but the dude can't cover. He made Deion Sims look like freaking Gronk.
Oh, well, that is true.
Let's see if this plays the beginning of what I was talking about.
What did you think about the pick last night, the cornerback, 27th, Tre'Davious White?
I'm not sure about Tyrod's, big part and big role.
I'll look for the clip. I want to pull it up so you can hear it from Shady's mouth himself. But Shady says about Kiko Alonso, his father probably wishes that I was his son.
Well, he said that in a tweet as well. So.
Then he went and said he doubled down, though. He went on national TV and doubled down. Harsh words for the division rival. He's like, I didn't like that. I didn't like him putting me on his page like that.
I love LaShawn because not only that, Kyle, LaShawn, he has a mouth, but he backs it up. And talk about a hard worker, high character kid. That's LaShawn McCoy right there.
Yeah, high character. Hey, listen, you need to take out some police officers in the middle of the bar. He's your guy.
He was acquitted of all charges, Kyle.
Yeah, those police officers probably weren't the cleanest guys.
Yeah, right. I mean, what are they doing at a strip club anyway?
I don't know, man.
Or a nightclub, wherever they were.
Who knows? Another head-scratching move about the freaking Jets. Dylan Donahue, West Georgia, 5th round, 25 years old. Measurables that suck. Let's pull up.
He's
Dylan Donahue.
He's got a pretty ssweet beard, though. I know you would appreciate that.
But again, Gary, I got a sweet beard. Can I play in the NFL?
Well, it was obviously a joke. See, Kyle, the guy ran a 4.75, and he's a 248-pound kid. It's just very slow guy.
6'3", 248. His height is 39th percentile. His weight, 4th percentile. His arm length, Gary, 30 and 1/4.
Wow.
Hand size, 9 inches. He's got Tannehill hands.
Kyle, pull up Nick O'Leary. See who has longer arms, him or Nick O'Leary.
Now, he does have a good 3-cone, and I love the 3-cone drill. I think that says a lot. But, I mean, his 40's not good. His vertical is 29.5. That's Jameis Winston vertical right there, basically.
That's Leonard Fournette.
Ooh.
Take another shot at Leonard Fournette.
Nick O'Leary. There he is. Baby hands himself.
He's got
oh, geez. This is bad. I've never seen this before. God. I mean, this guy, his spider web is like – it ain't like Charlotte's web, I'll tell you that.
It looks like a sharpshooter's web.
This looks like Spider-Man after he got taken out by the Green Goblin.
He has a shorter. He's got kind of 9 3/8 hands. It's not that.
Not that bad. He passes the threshold if he's a quarterback.
But arm length. Look at that.
29 3/4. Hey, but you know what? His arms are compact for a golf swing, though.
Yeah.
What's it? Who's his grandfather? Mackey or?
No, his not Arnold Palmer. Who's the Jack Nicholson?
Jack Nicholson. Or Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicholson's an actor.
Whatever. I'm not a golf fan.
All right.
But look at that broad jump. He's got a good. O'Leary's got a broad jump, I think.
22 percentile. No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Hold on. So apparently, it's
it's at the 140 mark.
140 mark. Here we go.
It's hard to give Rex all the blame.
Right. So, Stephen A., you don't want to talk about the past, but I do want to talk about the past. I want to talk about Instagram.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Right.
Kiko Alonso posts a picture.
Wait, talking about who?
You know very well who I'm talking about. Kiko Alonso, Miami.
You asked Philadelphia what they think about Kiko Alonso.
All right, no, LaShawn. I'm asking you. He posts a picture tackling you on Instagram, talking about his new contract. You clearly have some thoughts about Kiko. You called him a bum. Why so many feelings about Kiko?
I wouldn't say feelings. I'm just being honest. He's solid. I'll give him that. He's all right. It's nothing that you would talk about at this first table, but he's okay.
No, I'm serious. We're talking about you. I want to know why it got under your skin so much. I understand you're upset with Chip Kelly. I understand if you would be upset with the Eagles organization. Why the guy you were traded for? Why is he the target of your ire?
No, it was more just, you put me on your page like you made a big tackle. And if you looked at stats, I had like 2 touchdowns for like $150. So, I mean, it didn't make sense to me, I didn't like that. Don't put me on your page like, come on.
Well, listen, it's clear.
His dad probably wishes I'm his son.
It's clear. I'm not going to go there, but it is clear. Damn.
Shots fired.
Shots fired, and rightfully so. I mean, listen, Kyle, this just intensifies the rivalry. I mean, and what LaShawn is saying is not far-fetched. In fact, it's close to the truth. I don't know about the whole dad wishes he was his son thing. I wouldn't go that far, but LaShawn McCoy is a premier player. Kiko Alonso is a middle-of-the-pack linebacker. Although, be it, Kiko Alonso is not a complete linebacker, but for what he does as far as covering guys and creating turnovers, he does that very well. But, ask a Kiko Alonso to take on a fullback. Ask Kiko Alonso to – and he whiffs on a lot of tackles too. He's just not a complete player, while LaShawn McCoy is on the upper echelon of running backs.
Yeah, Kiko's not athletically as gifted as he was when he first entered the league.
He's on bad wheels, Kyle.
Okay. Another pick that I really don't like, I don't care if he's a high character guy. I don't care if he lays licks in the run game So did Robert Woods. So did Chris Hogan. Those guys aren't game changers. And I know you're not really drafting a game changer in the third round, but Darius Stewart. I wonder what our boy Drew Gear thinks about him. Wide receiver out of Alabama.
Well, let's see. Drew Gear would have took him in the second round, Kyle, because he just wants Alabama Northwest. That's what he wants.
Yeah, basically. Darius Stewart, put on his tape. What does the guy run? And we talk about, like, listen, obviously Alabama had a very productive offense, a very, very good college program. But, I mean, if you're looking at, like, what he did in that offense, it's a bunch of swing routes. It's end arounds. It's him throwing passes out of the backfield. He's doing things like, you would do a Julian Edelman end around, or you catch a swing pass. That is not – you don't draft a guy in the third round to do something like that. I'm sorry. You just don't. And could he develop and be a better route runner? Maybe. But that's the biggest problem in his game is his route running. And I got the rookie scouting portfolio open. Matt Waldman. If there is anybody who's high or relatively high on Darius Stewart, it's Waldman. I don't know if Waldman would take him in the third round, but he said some pretty nice things about him. But his biggest knock on Stewart was his route running. And I'm sorry, that's the biggest thing that you evaluate for a wide receiver is their route running. Not their run blocking, not what they do when they have their ball in their hands, not other things. And I didn't like that pick. But again, he's probably another, what they say, he's a high character guy. He's a good leader. And I'm asking the question, how much did his quote unquote high character bump him up the Jets draft board?
I mean, it's a fair question, Kyle. I got to tell you, they took that kid, and then a couple picks later, they take the kid from Cal. What's his name?
I like him better.
I like him better, too, because he serves a purpose, especially now that Devin Smith is gone yet again for the year. I mean, poor kid.
You criticized him from the beginning, so.
Well, I never thought he was I thought he was a one-trick pony, and looks like he's never going to get his career started. So, but you never want to see the kid get out on an injury. I want to see the kid play. So my heart goes out to Devin Smith, even though I'm not a big fan of his as far as his play on the field. But I like to see the kid at least be productive. But this Chad Henson kid, I almost said Chris Hansen from Dateline NBC, How to Catch a Predator. But, you look at the tape, and he looks like a burn, even though it doesn't translate over into the combine, Kyle. That's what kind of scary. But this guy's definitely shown to be a downfield threat. And sometimes I'm not in love with just having the 40-yard dash, Kyle. I think sometimes guys, when they get in the field and when they get the ball in their hands, they become faster or quicker. It's hard to explain unless you actually play football. And
Odell and Sammy are prime examples. I mean, 4.43, that's a good time, but those guys are faster than 4.43.
Yeah, especially when they get the rock in their hand. And I feel like the same thing happens with this kid. One thing I could say is the opposite. And this guy, you don't want him on when you run the ball.
Yeah, he's a little guy.
He not only that, he gets bullied around. You could tell he's the type of guy. If a fight breaks out between some of his friends at a bar, he's the type of guy that's running for the exit. Kyle, he wants no part of that. You could tell just by his play in the field. I mean, look,
is he a top 5 looking guy in the AFC East now?
I don't know. He's not a bad-looking kid, but, I'm sure Eric Decker and a few other.
Tom Brady.
Yeah. Vlad Ducasse have a few things to say about.
Oh, yeah, I stand corrected, Vlad Ducasse.
And don't forget, hey, Sam Young is still around, too.
Yeah, he does play big, though. I mean, we're looking at his mock draftable right now. 44th percentile in the vertical, 45th percentile 40-yard dash. But you look at a lot of his highlights, a lot of them are, he's running the 9 route down. And then, by the way, Davis Webb, the quarterback that was rumored to be going to the Jets. Jets wanted to trade up early second round to get him. That rumor was false. Giants took him, thank God. The only route that he could really throw was the 9 route. And a lot of Hanson's routes that he was winning on was the vertical route. And he doesn't have that deep downfield speed. But at least not in the 40, but he plays better. And like, I love his fact that he stacks cornerbacks. You know, when he gets them off the line, you know, he's looking to get right on top of them to the point where they're not in a good trail position where they can't bat the ball away. And he really goes up and he gets the ball too. I mean, Stephen Hill, for example, Stephen freaking Hill, that guy had like a 40-something inch vertical, but Stephen Hill would never go up and high point a football.
And he was 6'4" too.
And he was 6'4". Everything with him was alligator arms.
Yeah.
Hansen, he's not going to have the arm length. He's not going to have the height. He's not going to have the vertical, but he's better at going up and getting the football.
Yeah, and you know what, Kyle, I had a 5th round grade on this kid. I got to tell you this right now about Chad Hansen. One thing I do like, and this goes back to your point, maybe that what Mackagnan's looking for is these high character kids. This kid was a walk-on on Cal. So you know he's a hard worker. You know he had to earn everything that he got. But does that translate into being a good football player? You know, a guy, just like you said, because he's a hard worker, because he has a good work ethic, is he the best? I believe he serves a purpose in this offense. But you got a player like this already on the roster, in Anderson. I mean,
yeah, man, that's what I don't get. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Anderson's so young. You're developing him now. You got to bring this kid along. That's why I almost hated the Peterman pick for the same reason, because you got Cardell on the roster. What are you trying to tell? Like, focus your attention on that basket. Don't.
But here's the thing, though. Cardell was Whaley's guy. And I think the writing's on the wall for Cardell, because I think McDermott doesn't like Cardell.
Well, all right. Let's switch it back to the Jets, and that's understandable. Robbie Anderson and Chad Henson are both Maccagnan guys. So what are you saying there? And also Devin Smith is
he's a Maccagnan guy too, but I think Maccagnan they probably had to know about the injury prior to the draft. I think at this point they're saying
I think they've thrown the towel on Smith. I mean, I think that's clear.
Yeah.
Because they're already I mean, they already got similar type of players in these two kids that are on the roster. Young guys that are healthy bodies. And also, Kyle, don't forget, you got Jalen Marshall. He's suspended for 2 games.
Oh, that bum's getting cut. One of my words.
One of your favorite Jets.
Hey, Jets Nation, I was right about him. Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Eat your heart out.
You know, the Jets have a lot of unknown wide receivers. We don't even know if Decker's going to still make the team. I mean, there's Kyle, how you remember we would say where there's smoke, there's fire. I was denying the Manny Lawson thing last year. Oh no, what is this and this? And sure enough, he gets suspended for the domestic violence, and then he gets cut. But there's been a lot of smoke as far as Eric Decker, Kyle, possibly being a cut as well. So I think the Jets are preparing with a lot of these young wide receivers and kind of sifting out to see who's going to stick and who's not. Jalen Marshall, you're saying he's a goner. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah. Listen, unathletic receiver, you want to pull up bad combine numbers, you pull up Jalen freaking Marshall. Went undrafted, sucked, couldn't even catch a football, couldn't even catch a punt. And then he goes out and he has the off-field concerns because he takes a banned substance. Why do you keep a guy like that around? What is he doing for your team? You go out and you draft a couple of young receivers. The writing's on the wall for Jalen Marshall. You went and screwed up, kid. Sorry. And your father can come at me on Twitter again.
All right. Well, Kyle sifting out all his differences with all the Jets family members.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Decker, and you want to talk about Maccagnan guys, he's not a Maccagnan guy. That was John Idzik's prize free agent signing. You want to talk about the penny pincher John Idzik that he was. The only guy that he spent on was Decker, and really didn't even give Decker a super big contract. I mean, people were expecting Decker to get a bigger contract than that. But, the writing's on the wall for Decker. Decker's going to be 30 if he's not already 30. He's coming off a torn, labrum?
Yeah.
Something in the shoulder. And it's also hip surgery. So that's bad news. But I think he'll be around for this season. But I think the Jets are looking forward. But again, though, still at this point in time, wide receiver wasn't really a need. Yeah. Let's go back to the Jets. I've already aired out some of my grievances with them. You've aired out some of your grievances about the Bills. We'll go to what we like. We'll save that for the end. But let's go to the Patriots. And Gary, I really like the Derek Rivers pick. I don't know about you, but I like that pick.
You were high on this kid, Kyle. You know, small school pick. But Kyle, obviously, we have someone who has ties to that college.
Who?
I'll give you one hint. He's called in the show before.
Somebody's called in the show from Youngstown State. It ain't Nick Baby Love.
Donald Jones, Kyle, was a project.
Oh, Donald Jones.
And he was very high on this kid before the draft. And, Kyle, I like the kid. He's got a good burst. In fact, I thought he could have went higher in the draft, to be honest with you. But
I would have been cool with him at pick 39. I would take him over Marcus May at pick 39.
You were very high on him. I remember that was a given.
Yeah.
And, the Patriots, listen, they only had four draft picks. But I believe they got great value out of this kid. And you know what? I believe he's what? Is he 250 or he's over 2? I think he's 248. I believe
his combine weight was 248, seventh percentile.
But that's okay. He's going to be what Jabal Sheard was in this defense. He's going to plug into that role right away. He's got, Trey Flowers, Kyle. We love Trey Flowers. But Trey Flowers does not have a good burst. I think he's a hard worker. He relies on good technique.
Yeah, you're right.
Jabal Sheard had a burst. And Mikovic, Kyle, let's face it, Mikovic is getting up there in age. I don't know how old he is now, but
he's probably like 32,
they
33.
need a guy that's going to seriously be a good – and Chris Long's off the roster.
By his own will. He didn't want to play with the Patriots this year.
He said that.
He wanted a bigger role.
Right. So you listen to all these names that are gone. They need an edge guy that could really get after the quarterback. And even I believe if he serves a part-time role, which I believe he will his rookie year, it's going to be well served for this kid. And like I said, I got to commend you, Kyle. You've been high on this kid since day one.
Since I've been turned on to him, which I will admit it was kind of late on in the process. I heard rumblings about his name. And you hear rumblings about, lesser guys' names all the time, but you got to take that with a grain of salt. I mean, people were hyping up, for example, a lot of people were saying that freaking quarterback from Oregon last year, the hell's his name? Vernon Adams. People were saying first round pick. The dude couldn't even make it as a UDFA on a free agent team, so, and he's in Canada right now. You got to sometimes when you hear about these lesser known guys, these smaller name prospects, you got to, tread water with that. But when I watched the tape of this guy, I was like, this is exactly what the Jets need. Because you could put Sheldon Richardson you could put him out wide 9. You could do that. You could put Wilkerson out at the 5 technique. You can do the same thing with Leo. You can have them all rush off the tackle on the edge. But how are they going to win if they do win from that area? They're going to win with power, with a bull rush move, with driving the offensive lineman back into the quarterback. It's much rarer to get a pure bender, a guy who can bend around the edge. And the Jets haven't had that since John Abraham. And this guy, he's got that. And Gary, you know as well as I do, we were both pass rushers. Teaching bend it's really not something you can teach. You can teach proper hand placement. You can teach how to work a counter move. But a pure guy who can bend off the edge is very, very difficult to teach. And this guy has that.
Yeah, and that's something you wake up with. You either have it or you don't. And Kyle, he stood out in the Senior Bowl too, this kid. So I don't think that the jumping competition is going to hinder him at all. Obviously, going to the pro level is a whole nother ball game. But I like the pick, Kyle. Like I said, I think he could have been a second-round pick all day. And in fact, I thought he was going to be a second-round pick.
Yep. And by the way, we're going to have probably going to get Drew from Jersey to come on to talk about. He likes edge rushers. He's a well-known guy amongst Jets community, funny guy. Try to get him on to talk edge rushers. If we can't get him on, we'll try to get Justice Mosqueda on, who he actually evaluates defensive ends and edge rushers for Bleacher Report's NFL 1000. And he did a video with Matt Waldman in which they talked about Derek Rivers, and he was really high on him as well. He was basically saying, like, listen, he's got like late first round type of talent. And if you look at a lot of the things that really matter for edge rushers, his combine numbers are really good in that regard. 3-cone is insane. Broad jump, vertical jump's really good, and his 40-yard dash is really good as well. Those are the main things you look for. His arm length, yeah, that's not what you want it to be, but he's a good talent. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the Dolphins, Gary, and we'll go back to the Patriots. Patriots only had four draft picks, period. They didn't even have a first rounder because of Brandon Cooks. Miami Dolphins, pick 22, they drafted another edge rusher, probably the most refined one in the class, I think most people would say, Gary. Charles Harris, Missouri. And Missouri turns out these edge rushing products. Aldon Smith, Coney Ely, who's now on the Patriots. Shane Ray. It's probably a couple others I can't even think of.
Kyle, you can't forget about Michael Sam.
Michael Sam, you know.
Anywho.
Everybody's favorite 7th-round pick.
It's going to be interesting where they're going to play Harris, because is he going to take that Sam linebacker role that Komisi had, or are they going to use him as a true 4-3 defensive end? He could play either or, I believe, Kyle. I don't like him as a defensive end, more so as a Sam linebacker, because, I mean, he's shown to get blown off the ball. And he is pretty much what – listen, Kyle, you need players to kind of – you got Cameron Wake to be that guy that just gets after the quarterback.
But for how many years, though?
I get that. But what do you want the guy? You take someone in the first round, you want to contribute him day one. That's how I feel.
He is. This guy's going to be better than Andre Branch. I'm sorry. Sorry, Dolphins fans. That was a stupid move, signing Branch.
I have no doubt he will be too, but I just don't know. Like, is he a part-time player? That's how I feel. He's probably going to be a part-time role, at least on the edge.
But that's not a bad – listen, I mean, edge – you cannot – in my opinion, you can never have enough edge rushers. You can never have enough corners. And you want to draft depth there. I mean, we talked about, like, I don't know if it was last year or the prior year. Sue only played like 80% of the snaps, but he's still getting quarterback money. That's because you want him fresh. And we know as well as anyone – you need to be fresh as a pass rusher. So if this guy comes in early on in his first year and he's only a situational pass rusher, but I trust him to get to the quarterback much more than I do Andre freaking Branch, I'll take that.
Okay, and I get that. But like I said, I just don't – all right. I get what you're saying, Kyle, but like I said, what is the mindset of the Dolphins? They got a huge gap at that Sam linebacker. Komisi is not the answer. In fact, if he didn't take a pay cut, they were going to cut his ass quick, fast, in a heartbeat. So what do they envision his role? That's my question. And he's got a similar build. I believe they're both 6'3", both 255, if I'm not mistaken. So he would fill that role right away, I think.
But I think the Dolphins, I mean, and you never can envision what you're going to do in later rounds because you don't know who will be there. But the Dolphins did address their need. And again, we've spoken about this many times. You get yourself into trouble when you draft based on need, especially in early rounds in the draft. You got to look at talent first. And I think most people would project Raekwon McMillan to be that Sam linebacker. I think most people are projecting him to be that way.
See, I think the complete opposite. I think he's going to play that Mike linebacker. I think even though they have Lawrence Timmons, he is much the same way as Cameron Wake. He's just not a long-term solution. It's going to be interesting, Kyle. I really don't know. When they made the Harris pick, I thought right away that Komisi was the guy that he would replace right away. Because, like I said, at the Combine, you saw him drop into coverage. He's got good hips. But you never know. It could be McMillan that is going to be that Sam linebacker. We got to see how it plays out. I'm thinking, like I said, they spent a boatload of money on retaining Andre Branch. They know that Cameron Wake is their man on the left side, and they got the kid from St. Louis to take over the running downs. Hayes. So I don't know. It's interesting. We got to see how it plays out. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know. Did
you like McMillan, Gary?
I did. I mean, good athlete out of Ohio State. He had a bunch of tackles. He had, I believe, he had a better 2015 season than he did a 2016 season. But he's a good player. He's solid against the run. He's got good size, 6'2", 240. It's a good player.
Supposedly he's super young too. Youngest player in the draft. He's like that Aaron Hernandez thing going on. Remember Aaron Hernandez? You were telling me like, man, I didn't know Hernandez is super young. He's like 20 years old.
Yeah.
And I think McMillan is going to be 20 when the season starts, if I'm not mistaken. And that's pretty good. Listen, when you talk about like the difference between him and I would have taken Tim Williams in the third round, but one thing that I also didn't like about Tim Williams, besides his run defense and his positive marijuana tests, was the fact that he was 23. And a reason I can't stand this Donahue kid is he's 25. And Travis Wingfield, our boy, I guess he's from thefins.com now, he was saying that Raekwon McMillan, by the end of his first contract, he's going to be younger than what Garrett Bowles is currently.
Wow. That's saying something.
Yeah, it is. And let's see, what else did he say? He, by the way, Wingfield also said, and I haven't watched much of McMillan, so I ain't going to try to front. He said, you want to fall in love with McMillan, watch him against Michigan, that rivalry game towards the end of the season. Apparently he had a good game that game. So Dolphins fans, you want to start with somewhere, Raekwon McMillan, go to draftbreakdown.com and peep that video. I'll do that eventually sometime. Let's see. What other draft picks you want to talk about right now, Gary?
You know, we haven't really gotten to any. I mean, we got in the first round pick of the Dolphins, but yeah, we have not talked about. We talked a little bit about Jamal Adams. We have not talked about Tre'Davious White.
Let's talk about him.
And also the big trade that happened in the first round, Kyle. Between
love it.
I love it too. I mean, anytime you could get first round draft capital, and Kyle, let's face it. You got to believe that the Bills were looking to make a move at wide receiver. I mean, obviously, I think it was apparent because they traded up in the second round to get Zay Jones, who I absolutely love, by the way. I think he really his stock soared once he got to the Senior Bowl and the Combine too, Kyle. Because let's talk about Zay Jones real quick before I get off the subject of Zay Jones. I thought he was more of a third-round pick because of what his tape showed. I thought he was a good route runner, reliable hands, Kyle. I think he has some crazy stat. Like out of 317 balls, he's dropped 6 catchable passes, something crazy like that.
If you want to be a world traveler, start.
Anyway, I thought that he didn't look too fast on film. Then he goes to the Combine and runs a 4.45, and you think to yourself, wow. Then you see him at the Senior Bowl against competition that's better than East Carolina, and he's taking over these guys. He's taking their names one by one. So I thought he could have been, after seeing all that, he's definitely going to be a high second-round pick, if not a late first-round pick. And actually I was nervous, Kyle, because the way the draft played out, you saw my boy Corey Davis get picked real early.
Yep.
Then you see Mike Williams get picked, and then the kid Ross out of Washington get taken right away. I think once that all trickled down, the Bills, which I think, I mean, we know that they were looking for a wide receiver because of the Zay Jones pick. I think when that all played out, the trade with the Chiefs made even more sense for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, you got a 91 overall third-round pick. You got first-round pick next year, which because it's the Chiefs, you're expecting them to do pretty well this year, probably be a playoff team. It's probably not going to be a high first-round pick, but regardless, it's still a first-round pick. And then you get a corner that, a lot of people said, probably late first-round grade, early second-round grade. I view White as more of a man corner, kind of like a slot man corner, kind of what the Jets hoped Buster Skrine would be, kind of a jam you in your face type of slot corner that's going to run with you when you cross over the middle of the field. I think that's what they envision. That's what I see White as, the little tape that I watched of him. I don't know how much McDermott does that with his defense. I mean, I really haven't watched his defense in too much detail yet. I will this year. But that to me seemed a little odd. To me, I would assume someone like a Sidney Jones, and I get it, he had the Achilles injury. I would assume he would be a much better fit for the Buffalo Bills defense. But again, that's a big catastrophic injury. And this is McDermott's pick. Make no bones about it. So I guess he clearly sees something in him, but I'm just not sure what in terms of fit.
I got to tell you, Kyle, he's scheme versatile, this kid. And He's a day one, I think, slot starter. I mean, being that nickel corner. If not, he could probably be the number 2. And one thing I'm going to advise you to do is throw on that. I believe it's the 2015, or it could have been last year. Now, 2015 tape, LSU versus Alabama. Look at a guy that you like, Jalen Collins, guarding Amari Cooper, and look at Tre'Davious White guarding Amari Cooper. Now, Amari Cooper completely trounced Collins. I mean, made him look.
I love Amari Cooper.
Now, watch him when he goes against White. And you're right. White is a guy who's going to stick to you on glue. He's a man corner. I think that's his bread and butter. But I think if you line him up in the slot, you press him up against a Julian Edelman or someone like that, he will succeed. And I do think he could play off. I think he could play off very well, actually. Just you don't see a lot of it at LSU. But no matter what, the skill set's there, the work ethic's there. All those LSU DBs, Kyle, have great work ethic. But he is an absolute good kid, and he's a good corner. He's a good cover corner. And that's hard to find in the NFL. And Kyle, people point out, Darrelle Revis, when he went to Tampa and he was playing off, he wasn't the same player when he was playing man coverage.
Not at all. Not at all.
But he wasn't bad. In fact, he was still a pretty good corner. He just wasn't the corner that we were used to seeing.
Yeah, I mean, athletically, he was much superior to what he was this past year, but he just didn't look comfortable in that scheme. And Tre'Davious White, he's kind of like the player that, he really wins when he's making contact. He's up in your face. And he wins with effort more so than anything. He's not super athletically inclined, but I see him having a very high floor, this kid. So we'll see. We'll see with him. But you got to love getting the first-round pick, though, the additional first-round pick. You'll take that any day.
Yeah, and like I said, it doesn't. You can never have too many defensive backs, and
no, not at all.
Like I said, this guy had a late first-round grade on him, and where did we get him at pick 27? I'll take it all day.
Do you think the Bills would have taken Conley if he had slipped past the Raiders?
Could have been, yeah, I think so. God, this kid, let's also throw out this. He was a 4-year starter in the SEC at a defensive back. There's something to be said of that. This guy started all 4 years.
If I'm not mistaken, did he lead FBS in pass deflections?
I believe so. I believe that's something I heard when he was drafted.
You gotta like that. Disruptive corner, not going to quit on a route, ball skills. You got to have some type of ball skills to be able to deflect passes.
The Bills are going to have an underrated secondary. I believe Ronald Darby is going to be better suited in this scheme. And I like the 2 safeties they picked up in free agency. I like that Seymour kid, and I like this kid Roberson that we got. The Bills are going to have a very underrated secondary. I'm not making any claims we're going to have the best secondary, so don't get all antsy on me when I say that, but they'll have a very good defensive back. And let's say, and Kyle, here's something I also pointed out to you when Sean McDermott was hired. Sean McDermott has done good things with lesser talent. In Carolina, like I said, besides
Norman,
you couldn't name me one of their corners.
Didn't they have Ben Wickery, who's been cut a bajillion times since then?
Yeah.
Even the Dolphins picked him up at one point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You couldn't name me one of their corners besides Josh Norman. And their safeties were all has-beens. Kurt Coleman, Roman Harbor, Michael Griffin. I mean, those were the safeties that he was working with. And, like I said, yeah, they didn't have the best center, but they made do with what they got. And Kyle, he went to the Super Bowl 2 years removed from now. A year removed, rather.
Yeah. Let's see. What was I going to say? Speaking about Tre'Davious White, like I said, I think he'll have a high floor. I haven't personally heard of anyone that dislikes him. Some people like Kevin King, there are people like Jeff Lloyd. Jeff Lloyd was saying, listen, Kevin King should be top 15 type of pick. He's that talented. And, he ran that 6'3" cone drill, 6'3", 200-something pounds. Sam Monson was saying kind of like reminds me of like Richard Sherman. But then there's other people saying like, listen, Kevin King, I got him as like a 3rd, 4th round grade. He's really raw. I don't see that with White. I know Wingfield liked him a lot. I know Eric Turner likes him a lot. I haven't found one person that dislikes him or doesn't think that he'll be
like
good.
I said, at pick number 27, you're not upset about that pick, not one iota.
Zay Jones, another guy who Eric Turner really, really likes.
Oh, he was on the Zay Jones bandwagon since, God, I mean, forever. I remember one time him and I were talking, and we got into it about Corey Davis versus Zay Jones. And he said, you look at Corey Davis's route running compared to someone like Zay Jones, and it's night and day. And, Eric Turner was pointing out, I'd rather wait and get Zay Jones or wait to the end of the 1st round and get a Zay Jones than use number 10 overall on a Corey Davis. And I thought, I'm thinking he's nuts. But, look in hindsight, I think that's the smart move. And Zay Jones is more of a consistent player. Like you said, I think the ceiling for Corey Davis is much higher. But with a Zay Jones, Kyle, you're getting a player that, if all pans out, if he keeps continuing to build, you're getting an upgrade over Robert Woods. I'm not saying right now, but I'm saying his ceiling is definitely higher than what Robert Woods is.
That's interesting because Ian Morton, who's going to come on the show, when we talk about the cornerbacks in this class, he was kind of saying like Zay Jones is Robert Woods, and he was kind of questioning that move. Anyway, I haven't actually read it. I will read it.
Would you, as a Bills fan, would you be upset with that? Because Robert Woods has been gritty blocker. And in fact, I think he has measurements that exceed Robert Woods. Robert Woods never ran a 4.45. This kid's 6'2". Robert Woods is 6 foot even. He's got longer arms than Robert Woods. It'd be interesting to see their 3-cone and the short shuttle compared to one another. But Zay Jones tore the combine up, I remember.
Well, let's pull up the mock draft tool. And by the way, check out, I have not done it yet myself. It's on the to-do list. Cover1.net, YouTube channel, Cover One. Zay Jones scouting report. I mean, he put that one out a couple of weeks before the Bills drafted him, and he was super high on him. So check that out, Bills fans, if you haven't already done that. Check that out, AFC East fans, if you actually care about the division, which you do because you listen to this show. So I said mock draftable. We wanted to compare Woods to Jones. Gary, would you consider Robert Woods a sure-handed receiver?
I think that's one of his better attributes, yes.
Okay. And you said Zay Jones is a very sure-handed receiver, right?
And Robert Woods is an exceptional route runner, as is Zay Jones. Where Robert Woods lacks is that explosiveness and that suddenness. I think that's where Zay Jones trumps him.
Interesting. So Woods really did not test athletically at all at the combine. 50th percentile, 53rd percentile was the best that he had in anything, and he did everything. 40-yard dash, 53rd percentile. Zay Jones, on the other hand, he much superior, much superior. 73rd percentile, 3-cone, 20-yard shuttle, 91. 40-yard dash, 71st percentile. He's taller than Woods, 6'2", 201. Vertical's better, much better. Broad jump, 97th percentile.
He's a more of an explosive athlete. I mean, that's just proof right there.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Ian about that when we get him on.
Yeah, I don't know where he's coming from with that.
Let's see. Deion Dawkins. You had a run-in with Mr. Fahey over Deion Dawkins.
Oh, my God, Kyle, product of Rahway, New Jersey.
Did he wrestle at Rahway?
I don't know if he did, but, Rahway produces some good ball players. You know that.
They do. Some good wrestlers, too. That's why I asked. Caldwell won a national title. Eddie McRae.
One of our favorites. Deion Dawkins, Kyle, is a mauler in the run game, and he's a big boy. Played his whole career at Temple at left tackle. Let me repeat that one more time. Besides, when he got to Temple, he was a defense tackle. Never played a snap at D tackle. He was a left tackle his whole career at Temple. 35-inch arms, Kyle. And you can see right there, he's in the 92 percentile with that. People say he's better suited for the guard position in the NFL. I disagree with that, Kyle. I think he reminds me a lot of a guy that we almost got this offseason in Andre Smith. I think they play very similar as far as height and arm length go.
Do they have similar poor eating habits?
Well, I'm telling you, Deion Dawkins has that type of frame. If he doesn't work out hard, he will blow up like an Andre Smith. You can tell he's just one of those big hip, big bone guys. But that's supposedly one of his stronger suits is his work ethic and his play on the field. He's a whistle-to-whistle type of guy. And when you're on the offensive line, Kyle, those are the type of guys you want to play with along the line. Those guys that they sometimes you can play after the whistle's over with.
Speaking of, if you go on mockdraftable.com, which is what we are on right now, they give you similar skill sets in terms of how they tested at the combine on the left-hand side. And a Jets name popped up, Jarvis Harrison, and he is the opposite of good work ethic. Why he never made it with the Jets.
Well,
all the talent in the world.
Yeah, we said this. And Kyle, he tested really well at the combine. Big guy, too. He's just much like Deion Dawkins, but just never had the interest in football. And Kyle, we pointed that out several times in the show about Jarvis Harrison. We said his first love was basketball.
You ain't playing basketball at 6'4", 330.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, Deion Dawkins kind of liked the pick. I like that they traded up and got him at the bottom of the second round. He fills a need for the Bills, especially Jordan Mills. We don't know. The Bills have two question marks. They got a bunch of middle-of-the-pack offensive tackles. They got Jordan Mills, who's a decent run blocker, atrocious in pass blocking. They got Seantrell Henderson, who's dealing with Crohn's disease. We don't know if what type of suspension he's going to serve from last season. We've got Cyrus Kwanjo, Kyle, who's coming off a hip surgery. So this guy, Deion Dawkins, could maybe be a day one starter for the Buffalo Bills at right tackle.
He could be. Right tackle was pretty bad for the Bills last year, even though the Bills were solid at all their positions along the offensive line. And Temple, man, they produce some good pros.
That's a program that's on the rise, Kyle. I'm telling you. I don't know what it is. People talk about University of Pittsburgh and Penn State, but Temple's been the last 3 seasons has been the most consistent program in Pennsylvania.
Now, Gary, I know that you like the player in Deion Dawkins, but did you like the value, what you gave up to get him?
I did, Kyle, because everything – I think you get that third-round pick because you make a move like this. It gives you the capital. And you know what, Kyle, I never say you want to be a need-based team in the draft, but this serves a big hole with the Bills. And like I said, you plug this kid in, he's a mauler. I feel like the zone running scheme fits this kid so well. That you look at him versus Jordan Mills, all things considered equal. Yeah, he definitely beats out of Jordan Mills for this right tackle spot. I think if you get a healthy Cyrus Kwanjo back or maybe a Seantrell Henderson that's not in suspension, maybe those guys give him a tougher push. But this guy, to me, could be a day one starter. I like him better at right tackle than I do guard, and especially the guards we got, Kyle. John Miller had a tremendous season last year. And Richie Incognito is still one of the best in the league.
He certainly is. Okay, so did we hit on all the Bills draft picks? Did we talk about
Yes,
Blake?
we did.
Okay.
Yes, we did. And, Kyle, can you tell me some picks that you felt were great value picks and some picks that you felt like, damn, I wish the Jets had him at that point from an opposing team?
From an opposing team within the division? Or
Yeah.
I think I like the Tankersley pick for Miami.
I love that pick too. I think that
Go ahead.
Everyone knows that I'm not a big Tony Lippett fan.
Really? Because you always come into his defense every time I criticized him.
I'm saying as far as his tackling goes, and he's a good player on the ball. He makes a ton of interceptions, but I believe that let me rephrase that. Not more so Lippett. Byron Maxwell. How about this? Let's leave Lippett alone. I think this guy could dethrone Byron Maxwell Maybe not this year, but next year he will.
I could see that. Next year I can definitely see that because that's a bad contract then. I don't know the exact structure of it. I don't know if it's really backloaded. Usually they are. They don't want to see a lot of that money down the road.
And as far as Lippitt goes, he's still developing as a corner. I mean, keep in mind this guy is a wide receiver who's converted. So he's still developing. I'm going to give him a pass. But I like that Lippitt makes a lot of plays in the ball. But this kid right here will definitely dethrone Byron Maxwell eventually.
Some people think that Lippitt's playing the wrong position. He should make the switch back to wide receiver. Who knows if he'll make it, but yeah, I mean, Tankersley is another solid tackler, much like Xavier Howard. We praise Xavier Howard for his good tackling. When healthy, you got to be healthy to tackle, but Xavier Howard is solid at that. You know, just watch some of the games where, you know, they'll run a little smoke route to a wide receiver and Xavier comes up and smacks him. What were you going to say?
Got to ask you, Kyle, because me and Fahey got into it on his little the takeoff, which my prediction that the takeoff is going to crash down real fast. They won't even make it off the runway.
Well, how can it crash if it doesn't make it off the runway?
Well, I'm just saying. Hey, you can still crash before you make it off the runway. The runway is pretty long.
Fair point.
Anyway, I got to ask about the big corner you guys took out of Michigan. I can't think of the kid's name right now.
Oh, jeez. I haven't watched him yet.
The kid was creaming in his pants when he was talking about him.
Really?
Oh, my God.
Both Bulls and Miami love long corners. Bulls, I mean, Justin Burris is really long, and both these guys they drafted in the 7th round or late 6th round, I should say.
Well, you know
long
Justin
guys.
Burris, do you know Justin Burris is the closest thing to Patrick Peterson?
I did know that. Everywhere you pull up the mock draftable, you're going to see their spider charts are very, very similar, especially the 40-yard dash.
We got to stop taking digs at Fahey. We got to leave him alone. But anyway, I got to admit, Kyle, real quick. Well, one more thing about Fahey. He knew that Dad was on the line. He was able to pull up by Dad's phone number who was on the line. So we got to stop messing with Fahey. He has some insider information.
Wait, what happened? Run that by me again.
When Dad called up on Tuesday when you weren't available, he was like, "Who's this 908-769 number?" He's like, "I'm gonna look it up," and he knew it was. Is this Senior? That's what he kept saying. Is this Senior? And then he showed me on the screen, and sure enough, it said Gary Smith Senior.
Wow.
Yeah, so he has some type of witchcraft.
I don't know if he's hacking or anything like that.
Well, anyway, that's one of our topic of conversations was the kid from Michigan, this 6'3", 220+ corner.
Do you like the comp that I'm reading on the screen right now? Bashad Breeland for Cordero Tankersley?
Be honest with you, Kyle. When I watch tape of him, I like him to Keenan Lewis. That's who he reminds me a lot of.
Who's Keenan Lewis play for the Chargers, or did he play for the Chargers?
No, he played for he had many successful seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then he had several other successful years with the New Orleans Saints, and he's been out of the league last year. But that's who he reminds me of when I watch film. Keenan Lewis.
Keenan Lewis. Interesting. So reading that scouting report on Tankersley, some of the positives about him is one of the best in the class at using his length at the line of scrimmage and staying with the receiver on short routes, initiates contact early in press, and mirrors well. Wins at the line of scrimmage with his strength and footwork. His ability to challenge receivers to break the pass is great, and his physicality continues to the catch point to break up passes. Where does he struggle? Deep speed and ability to turn and run with faster receivers left him vulnerable in man situations. He's not slow, but he's not a burner. Sammy Watkins has a history of burning those Miami corners. If Sammy can stay healthy, and if Buffalo ends up somehow retaining him next year, that being that they didn't pick up his 5th-year option.
Yeah, let's get into that real quick because we have about 15 minutes left, and that was a good segue into it, Kyle. I like how you set that up.
Totally unintentional.
Well, I'm going to ask you, you being the Jets fan, do you believe the Buffalo Bills made the smart move? Now, keep in mind, he was a Whaley guy, but do you believe, I
don't know. I'm really torn on that.
I'm torn on this too, because I feel like if he does tear it up this year, this is what I feel like. The Bills Mafia, the Bills fan base, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If we picked up the fifth-year option and he had a year like he did last year where he was constantly in and out of the lineup, we would get such criticism. Oh, stupid move. Bills move, of course. They make another dumb move, picking up his fifth-year option. I feel like that. But if he lights it up this year, and we know he can when he's healthy, we're going to look stupid. So I feel like you're damned if you do, you're damned. I got to say this, Kyle, being a Bills fan, and I see if you agree with me on that. You look at the track record of Sammy Watkins. As far as his pro career goes, he's been injured more often than he's been healthy. And I still believe that they have the franchise tag in their back pocket if he does light it up this year. And Sean McDermott, Kyle, every move that he's made in his era, it's kind of a wait till the last minute move. I mean, the Tyrod Taylor situation came right down to the wire. I believe the same thing's going to happen with Sammy Watkins. Even if he tears it up this season, I believe the Bills are going to wait the last minute to franchise him and then work on the contract. I just think that that's the way he operates.
Yeah. It's tough because you want to the cool thing about the whole drafting a guy in the first round is you get that fifth-year option, and that fifth-year option is a big discount if you hit it big with the player. If the player's good, you're going to get him for pennies on the dollar. Sammy's fifth-year option would have been like, what, 11-something million?
Yeah.
Versus a franchise tag is going to be 5, 6, maybe 7 million more than that, whatever.
They'll probably be playing close to upwards of 16 million for him.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's not just salary. That's not like a base salary that you're paying the guy. That's a full-on cap hit. So it's a big difference. But at the same time, the fifth-year option, I mean, they could cut Sammy straight up if they picked up the fifth-year option. They can cut him straight up, but it's like guaranteed for injuries. So, if he gets hurt again, you're on the books paying him that big cap hit, that full-on salary, and
I think that's the reason why they didn't, is because they would be on the line for him. And
is that Outlaw?
Yeah, you hear him. He's upset that he's whining because I haven't played with him yet.
Oh, he lets you know, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, Kyle. Let's talk about your boy Calvin Pryor. No surprise, the Jets. The writing's on the wall. They go to the draft their first 2 rounds. Jamal Adams, Marcus May. And in fact, today, Kyle, they cut Marcus Gilchrist. So this was no surprise to the Jets nation. I think they made it quite clear that they're making a safety change this season.
Yeah. Now the question is, Pryor will not be in a Jets uniform 2 years from now. That's a given. He's not a Maccagnan guy. He stinks. He's just not good. And they just drafted back-to-back safeties, which got Bowles full-on approval. Who knows if he'll be there? Probably not. But nonetheless, they were Maccagnan's picks, and Mike Maccagnan was super giddy over them. And he's a guy that, in his mind, he's known as like a BPA type of guy. He doesn't care what outsiders think. That's for sure. Just look at this draft class, and that'll give you a good indication that he really doesn't care what others say. But, I mean, Pryor, he's not going to be here 2 years from now. But you have to wonder, I don't see any of these guys as a true, free range safety, cover 1, cover 3 over the top, single high guy. And I maintain this. Even though I had questions about Hooker's work ethic and the injury is a little bit concerning, I still would have taken Hooker over Adams here. And I'll say that till the end. I'm not going to back down on that. I fully would have done that. Adams, he might be a great safety, but in my mind, not the best safety in the class. You want to look to positives? We've been bringing up Eric Turner. The dude is a film junkie. Gary, did you know that he had Adams as his number 1 overall player more so than Myles Garrett? Over Myles Garrett.
See, he texted me right after the draft saying, I'm worried about Adams in our division. And I said, I'm not. Because Kyle, most of the same reason as you. I agree. I'm more on the Hooker bandwagon than Adams. I like Adams, though. I like that. He's a great kid. Anyone would want that kid in their locker. The upside goes with Hooker, though. I think the upside with Hooker is just way higher than
game
Adams.
changer. He's a game changer. I don't know that Adams is.
That's the thing. I think you probably get a more consistent player in Adams, definitely with the injury history, all things considered. But Hooker is the type of guy that it's third and long. Tom Brady has the ball in his hands, and he chucks it up deep for Edelman. Hooker's going to make a play on the ball and most likely take it to the house and change the game. I mean, that's the type of player Hooker is. Adams more the guy that's going to either cause a pass interference or knock it down. And the Patriots are still up by 3 points.
Yeah.
That's the difference between the two guys.
I just see, obviously, in my opinion, based on what I've heard, I haven't watched much of May. I've watched a good amount of Adams. Adams he's pretty – I'll say he's pretty versatile. If you look at Pro Football Focus stats, I mean, he played almost 35 to 40% of his snaps as a slot corner last year. And there were some PFF guys that said, Adams could actually be the best cornerback prospect in this class. Now, that seems very much hyperbole to me. But I think he could be serviceable there. I've seen him play well single high. I've seen, Eric Turner actually sent to me a GIF image of Adams playing way off in off-man coverage, and the receiver was running double moves, and Adams was staying right with him. It was a thing of beauty watching him cover there. So I think he's versatile, but he doesn't do one thing particularly super well. So I don't view him as a game changer. And a lot of people were saying you still got Pryor, and all these safeties, they're supposed to be, at least in theory, more so like a box guy. And you just got three guys that are all kind of in the same position. I mean, one thing about Adams is, even though he might be able to play single high pretty good, it's not something you're going to do with him all game.
Yeah.
He's not that good to that point where he can do that. He doesn't have that type of range. Nor does he have those ball skills.
That's the thing, Kyle. My biggest concern, he's not a guy that makes a play on the ball a lot.
No, he's
He's
not.
got good hips, and he definitely can run. But for some reason, he just does not put it all together. Or Hooker, Kyle, and by the way, it no longer exists. It no longer exists. But the Buffalo Bills message board, something I used to go on a lot, Kyle. Right before the demise of that board, or
Buffalo Rumblings? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it was the BBMB, Buffalo Bills message board. Remember I used to show you the Bills lookalikes when they used to play the opponents. That's where I would get all that good content from.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah. Well, anyway, if you were to type Malik Hooker in, you'd get banned from that board.
Really?
Because the word hooker. So there's a lot.
Interesting.
But anyway, yeah, I would agree with you. I definitely was higher up on Hooker. I think Adams, though, you're getting a more consistent player because, like I said, factor in the injury history.
Yeah. And we got such a long time to talk about some more of these draft prospects.
It's going to be interesting, though, God, to see how that does play out, because could this be a debate like the Sammy Watkins, Odell Beckham Jr. debate that we had for so long?
Well, if it's similar to that and we're factoring in injury here, well, Adams seems to be the healthier player than Hooker, so it looks he's
also the LSU Tiger.
Oh, yeah, so
there's the correlation right there. Kyle, any other fifth-year options before we get out of here? We got 5 minutes.
Your boy, Gary, Jawan James.
Yes. I mean, it was a no-brainer because –
a no-brainer, really?
Well, like I said, who else is going to replace him?
What about Sam Young?
Definitely the better-looking prospect. No, I think they want to keep that continuity. I still don't think he's a good right tackle. I still think that they just want to keep him and see if he develops to grow into a better lineman, but he's not a good offensive tackle.
You know what's interesting is how bad was Eric Fisher his first couple of years? Contract year, last year of his rookie contract, things clicked for him.
And looking at all these photos, Jawan James definitely is in the running for
yeah, man. He's
that's not a flattering picture.
By the way, you're wondering, like, what are these guys talking about? We can't see their screen. Yes, you can see our screen. I know 95+% of you guys consume our stuff through downloading it through the podcast. But hey, check us out on YouTube sometime too if you want to see what we're looking at. But yeah, Jawan James.
You know, they must think we're Greek gods, you know, hearing us because the way we're bashing all these other guys.
Yeah, that's not. Hey, listen, we praise Chad Hansen for being good looking. We praise
That's
Eric
right.
Decker, Tom
And
Brady
Eric
for being
Decker.
good looking.
Yeah, those guys. Hey, LaShawn McCoy is a good looking guy too. What?
LaShawn McCoy's got a chubby face. And you wouldn't think that the way he moves.
Listen, we're not going to turn the show into critiquing men. Tell you what, if my girlfriend hears this, she's going to start raising an eyebrow.
Just saying. I mean, like, you know, the way he moves, you wouldn't envision that he'd have that type of face, but that's neither here nor there. Got to be honest, I haven't watched many of these later round guys. We'll do that for sure. I know you'll do the same. We're going to bring some more people on. We got to get Brandon Thorne on, Gary. Brandon Thorne does a lot of work with offensive linemen, works for Inside the Pylon. Lots and lots of work about offensive linemen. So we're going to get him on. We'll talk about Asiata. We'll talk about Dawkins more. Jets didn't draft a lineman. Patriots did draft a lineman. We could also talk about some undrafted free agents. And by the way, Brandon Thorne, Gary, believe it or not, is actually high on I'm forgetting his name, the center for the Patriots. I don't know why his name is slipping my mind right now. That bum. David Andrews. He actually kind of likes David Andrews, so I got to press him about that. I'm curious to hear that. He said he'd come on sometime.
I know you got a bunch of clips for him.
Oh, yes. We'll put them on. And Brandon Thorne's also got some positive clips, though. And actually, a lot came from week 2 against Miami, so that'll be interesting. Some of them came against Ndamukong Suh. So he'll come on. We're going to get Ian Wharton to come on, talk about the cornerbacks, Tre'Davious White. He'll obviously have hot takes on the safeties. We'll get him to talk about Tankersley, etc. And we're going to get Drew from Jersey to come on and talk to us about edge rushers and guys that he liked in the draft. He was high on Charles Harris. He was high on Derek Rivers. So be interesting to get his takes on that. And maybe we'll get some other guys to come on and talk about these prospects as well.
Another thing, I got to ask you right before are you surprised that the Jets or the Bills didn't take an edge rusher in this year's draft? Especially given the need for the Jets. And I mean, they took forever to take one. And the Bills, Kyle, besides Shaq Lawson and Jerry Hughes, look at the depth. They really got no one behind them. They got Ryan Davis and Max Valleys. That's it.
It's just one of those things. You know, Maccagnan, he doesn't care what other people think. He's a BPA type of guy. And, I mean, he's shown that with the Leonard Williams pick. Obviously wasn't a need for the Jets.
Can you see my dogs harassing me to go out?
Oh, I can see him. Oh, that's not Outlaw, though.
This is Bronco's the only one tall enough to make eye-level contact with me.
How tall is he if he stands on his hind legs?
He's about 6'1".
Wow.
What
was I saying before that? About
Maccagnan, not about BPA.
I mean, he drafted edge rushers in the 3rd round each of the last 2 years, but they're both not very good. Jenkins, I think, can be okay, but Malden doesn't have too much longer with the Jets, I don't think. I know Jets fans love him. He's very active on social media, but his time's running thin in New York. We'll see if he can improve this year. But we're going to short abbreviated show this week. Be a little bit longer next week. And we'll talk about these guys more. I'll start setting my eyes on some of these guys more. Really busy time for me at school. We're at the end of the year. Got to finish strong. So I'll delve more into these guys for sure, and I know you will as well. I got nothing else, Gary. Do you?
Bronco, you want to say something? No, that's it for me.
Usually he's not one to keep his mouth closed either, so that's shocking. Gary's AFC_EastBro Gary. I'm at AFC East Bros. Email the show, AFCEastBros@gmail.com, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. If you can give us a 5-star rating review on iTunes, we would greatly appreciate that. We'll give you a shout-out, Nick Baby Love style. Anyway, that's it. I'm Kyle speaking for Gary, and we're signing off. See ya.